you.
Ever.
It's fine.
Oh, yeah.
I tell whoever wants it.
Chrissy's break doesn't come until.
It's down.
I haven't said a
User error.
I still can't.
I don't think
I
so.
still can't connect.
Yeah, so they're working on it from the network side.
Okay.
Today we're just
Trying to
moving
figure it out
forward.
right now.
How are you
Clair
online?
will be here.
Paul is going to get the game.
Okay.
Cellular data.
Oh.
I'm gonna guess we're gonna have an hour and 20 minutes.
Does your list show when?
All right here.
Yes, but that doesn't help with recording the meeting or any of that.
You want to?
Good evening. I just wanted to let everyone know we're working through a technical issue. So we're going to delay the start of the meeting for just a few moments until we can resolve the technical issues.
We did a video. Some of the technicals.
It's to
I
when,
think so.
so I'll call for the motion, and the motion will be accept the applications and those that are,
Internet worked all day long.
and then that way we'll accept them.
Yeah, I was working right before I came in here.
This is a special notice we
Hey,
have
Gary,
the conversation.
just so you know, Dave Vanderbosch invited all these people.
Should've known.
Dave.
Should've known.
Yeah. Yeah, so for the it looks like it's the library.
I don't know.
Got a
We just.
almost not working. They're gone.
Recordings.
That one, but the other ones are gone.
Let's try. Okay.
Suppose we're going old school today.
Oh, it just came off.
There we are.
Shut this down, I think it's expensive.
I think it's. Lisa, it's back up.
Yeah, I'm able to connect. Do we know if we have recording yet?
Yeah, Paul just gave a thumbs up.
Okay.
And it just came, yes, just came back.
Lisa,
I got it. We're just waiting for everyone to be settled up here. You guys are too fast. Are you in?
I think I'm getting there.
Okay, the boys are antsy.
I guess. They're like, let's roll.
Thank you for your patience. We have audio and visual, so our meeting can be recorded, which is important for the archives and our transparency. So I appreciate you being patient while we get started this evening. At this time, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could the clerk please take the roll?
Commissioner Angie,
Present.
Commissioner Torello,
Present.
Commissioner Samasco,
Present.
Commissioner Zeller,
Present.
Commissioner Rushing,
here.
Commissioner Vandenbach.
Here.
Commissioner Eden.
Present. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Thank you.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have quite a few citizens to be heard this evening. So what I'll do is I'll call the first person up with the next person being on deck so that you can get ready and make your way to the podium. The first person tonight will be Steve Fair, followed by Jeff Pemberton.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for hearing my application to the CMH Board. I'm a long-term resident here in Port Huron, lived here my whole life, born and raised except for going to Ann Arbor, go blue, and for my college years, and just would be an honor to serve on the CMH board here. I run my own private practice called Renewal Christian Counseling Center. We've been here in the community for 25 years and learned a lot about the mental health field. We are CARF accredited, which is best practices in the mental health field, which I believe CMH is also. So I would love to lend my expertise there. Running a private practice, I've learned how to stretch a dollar, and we really want to be fiscally responsible and would love to speak into that. I also am a past CMH employee, as well as have been a past contractor with CMH. So I feel like uniquely I could speak into multiple sides of the CMH board. And lastly, we have a very special needs son that is a recipient of the amazing services of CMH. So would love to share more with you if I can answer any questions at any point. Love your consideration for the CMH board. Thank you.
Jeff Pemberton, followed by Tracy Eichenberg.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm also here in support of Mr. Fair, so I'm glad he got to go before me. I'm going to speak to you from kind of 4 different angles of support for Steve. So first is personally. I've known Steve Fair for over 25 years as a personal friend. I met Steve when I was 15 years old, and he was a mentor to me. He went on to become the best man at my wedding. Many of you know me and know that my wife's a paraplegic. It was Steve Fair who drove me to U of M, go blue, the night of my wife's accident and walked me through that most traumatic time of my life. Steve proved as a friend that he's loyal, trustworthy, and selfless. And that carries into every part of his life. The second angle is pastorally. When I was 15 and met Steve, it was at a Bible study at his house when I was in 8th or 9th grade. And it was those formative years as a young man that went on to change me into becoming a pastor myself. Many of you, again, know that I'm a youth pastor. And it was Steve's influence on my life that helped drive that decision that I wanted to impact young people in the same way that he did, in taking a deep love for Jesus and making it actionable to serve people in the community. The third way I'd like to talk about my support for Steve is as a business leader. I'm a business leader myself, and I've had the honor of watching Steve over the last 25 years build Renewal from a solo guy in an office renting out some space to a multi-site, multi-city organization that serves over 700 clients a week. I've had the unique opportunity to understand Steve's vision and passion for the mental health field because I helped build his website. And I got to help build his EHR system. And so I had to take everything that he thinks and does and works with his clients and translate that from a paper process into a digital process. And that just gave me the unique opportunity to see how much he prioritizes the needs of his clients above everything else. Lastly, I stand here as a council member. Many of you know I serve on Port Huron City Council, and I understand the responsibility that you have in putting people that you can trust in boards and commissions. And I can tell you that I know the requirement that you're often looking for of someone that doesn't have their own agenda, they're always trying to push, but instead can work with others with whom they may disagree, but have a focus on what the community actually needs in serving in any committee. And I can tell you that I would trust Steve Fair to serve on any board, but specifically this board I believe he's uniquely qualified for. And with that, for these reasons and more than I could probably have time for, and I see that I don't have time for, I just want to wholeheartedly endorse Steve Fair for this appointment. I hope you'll do the same. Thank you for your time tonight.
Tracy Eichenberg, followed by Mindy Fair.
Good evening. And I too am here to share my support for Steve on becoming part of the Community Mental Health Board. I've known Steve since our college days, working downtown at Sears, and that's how we first met. Stayed connected throughout our lives at various points. But really where I have seen him shine is with the opportunity to watch him build his successful practice, continually looking for new ways to serve our community. He is a helper by nature, always looking for how he can use his skills and his talents to serve those that may be underserved or have barriers to receiving the mental health services that they need. He's a problem solver and collaborator that I had the privilege of partnering with when I was working in Port Huron Schools as the Executive Director of Employee and Student Services. I remember when he first reached out to me and wanted me to consider how we could work together to provide more support for our students. And so we developed a plan to pilot an on-site support system to provide social work services in the schools. It was never designed to take the providing or step on the toes of our fabulous schools, help to make a bigger impact. So we started at Kimball Elementary, and she worked with families to remove barriers to services. And that might mean seeing kids at school so that they didn't need to miss time in the classroom to travel to appointments or to meet with parents when they dropped their students off or when they were picking them up, to save them that time of driving to a different place. She also provided staff education to help support the whole child. This was all led by Steve's vision that by working together, we can do more for our kids. So we found success at that first school and expanded to several other schools in Port Huron. And this partnership was truly appreciated by families and the staff. It's this type of collaboration that Steve excels at. He looks for solutions, and he finds whoever is out there that wants to work with him to find those solutions. I enjoyed working with him because he always was willing to take feedback, to think creatively, and to look for the new ideas that might be out there. So his positive outlook was appreciated, and his relationships with staff were valued. Our county would be fortunate to have him as someone with his high character, his experience, and his dedication to be part of this board. Thank you.
Mindy Fair, followed by Tara Russell.
Hey, good evening. I'm reading this for Branch President Kevin Watkins, NAACP in Port Huron.
Sorry, Vicki, there was supposed to be Mindy Fair. I haven't called you yet. I know you're excited. I haven't called you yet.
Hi, my name's Mindy Fair, and I'm thankful to be addressing the board on behalf of my husband, Steve. I believe my husband would be a great addition to the CMH board. We have both been raised in Port Huron and have been a part of this community for our whole lives. We are both highly invested in the community, and we care a lot about it. Myself, I've been a teacher for the last 29 years in the city, and Steve has been a counselor for over 30 years. We've also raised our son Ryan in this community and are very appreciative of all the support we have received from the community and the community mental health services and their programs. Steve loves bringing people of diverse backgrounds together to work towards helping others. He has always believed that working together is so much more beneficial than trying to accomplish things independently. I ask that you not only consider his love for the people of this county, but for the love of the people that he has all around our state. He's worked tirelessly to grow our counseling center over the last 25 years. He has created a safe place for all people from every walk of life to receive mental health support. I've watched our counseling center grow from nothing to serving over 700 clients a week. He has worked so hard over the years, working both day and night to make sure the counseling center is a safe place for everyone. And I know we will work just as hard for this board. I want you to know that Steve has always operated with integrity, honesty, and has built true relationships in our community as well as around the country, as he is now working with many other mental health agencies. I believe Steve would be a great addition to this board, and I'm speaking to you not only as his wife, but as a mother of a client that deserves a voice to advocate for him and the service he needs. Thank you.
Tara Russell, followed by Nancy Thompson.
Good evening. Hello. Tara Russell, local resident. I'm here to ask for your consideration for the Board of Community Mental Health. I do want to say it's hard following up Steve, but I will agree, go blue. My youngest is there right now. So a little bit about me. I raised my kids in Marysville. I worked at Community Foundation of St. Clair County, and I've worked at the YMCA. I volunteered a lot at the soup kitchen. We have seen, I have lots of friends, family that work for community mental health, and as well as that retain services from community mental health. So I just want to say I'm very passionate about health and wellness. I've raised my children. We've seen how the community can thrive with a lot of education, a holistic approach to health and wellness. We see it at all ages. It's very different than when those of us of my generation grew up. My oldest is a fourth-year med student in Boston. He works at a lot of youth shelters. He always comments on how lucky we are in St. Clair County to have the community we have, the support that we have throughout all the resources and agencies. We have fourth generation working in the soup kitchen. We see on the ground our society of what it truly is and the needs that we have, not only education-wise, but definitely health and wellness across all spectrums. I believe that our communities thrive most with like the alignment of education, focused on the integrated healthcare, treating the whole body, as well as social determinants are so important of health that impacts your wellness overall. And community mental health does a really good job, even when you look at minute things like teeth, having access to the resources that a lot of our fellow constituents don't have. So I also would just want to end with, the connection. It's so important for our community to feel welcomed and inclusive. And I feel that I could give a lens as a longtime resident and support in the health and wellness areas that community mental health does a really good job supporting, and we need to protect them and support them as they continue to grow. So thank you. I appreciate your consideration. Sorry.
Nancy Thompson, followed by Stephen Lucas.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Thompson. I am currently on the board for community mental health, but I'm also up for reappointment this year along with 3 other members of the board. I just would like to make sure that it's knowledgeable that 3 of the people up this year, Julie, Kyle, and myself, are all officers of the board at this point. And I think it's very important. We've had 2 new members come on recently, but it's more than just the services. It's the fiscal, it's the state law, it's the training. You learn something at every meeting, and the training that you take to do that the turnover, it makes it extremely difficult. And there are so many people in St. Clair County that are wonderful people to serve on the board, but it is also important that we keep people that have had the training and people that are in the roles for a period of time, and especially your board of directors or officers. So the other part is that we've taken Ken Nichols is up. He is very much the northwestern part of the county. Myself is the southwestern part of the county. Kyle is kind of in the middle with Marysville and down, and then Julie has her own practice in the Port Huron area, serving that community of Port Huron. So it's a full county of representation, not just Port Huron area. So I hope that you will look at the wonderful people that are applying and the wonderful people that are already on the board, and when you make your selection. So I appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Stephen Lucas, followed by Vicki Blackburn.
Good evening. My name is Steve Lucas, and I'm here tonight to speak about my friend, Mr. Steve Fair. Before I speak about Steve, let me give you a brief intro about myself. I've lived in the Blue Water area most of my life outside of my active duty and reserve time being recalled to Iraq. Having completed 24 years in the military, both active and reserves, I'm a married father of 2. My oldest son has special needs or developmentally delayed. He and Steve's son are best friends. So we've gotten to know them through that. What my son has, we don't know. He's got up to 14 different characteristics of syndromes, but not enough of one to classify them. CMH has been a wonderful advocate and a tool for us with the services that they offer us. My youngest son was involved in a workplace accident almost 7 years ago that he wasn't expected to make recovery from his traumatic brain injury. But he's still with us, and he's a contributing part of the community. My wife has collapsed in front of me, and by the grace of God and people at the hospital, she's with us with extra hardware now. I graduated from University of Michigan with a mechanical engineering degree at the ripe old age of 58. Most of my adult profession's been in the customer service area. I mention these things because it helps me makes me more of a subject matter expert, as the military would say, on people's personalities and character. As I mentioned before, we met Steve and Mindy and Ryan through Woodland Developmental Center, where Stephen and Ryan were best friends at. Steve is actively involved with Ryan and all the activities that go on. Used to be at Woodlands and Special Olympics. But, you know, it's tough finding fathers that are involved with their kids. And Ohana has a meaning in both of our families. My wife and I were lucky enough to, with the support of Marysville Little League, to start a Challenger Division baseball league about 18 years ago. And CMH has been one of our sponsors for the last 4 or 5 years. And we appreciate everything that they've done for us there as well. Steve is one of our coaches for that.
Everybody gets 3 minutes. Going to have to wrap it up, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. Steve is one of our coaches that we utilize primarily as a pitcher, and he has interactions with most of our players that range in age of 5 to
You
the
need to
oldest
wrap
is
it up,
now
please.
71. I'm 2 sentences away. That's okay. I mention these things because it speaks of Steve's loving heart, not only for our special people, but for people in general. I believe he would be an incredible asset to any organization that interfaces with the general public. Thank you.
Vicki Blackburn, followed by Bill Ford.
Kevin Watkins, branch president for the NAACP in Port Huron, is unable to be here tonight. And so he asked me to read this for the board and the citizens in the county. The NAACP has received no official response from the county addressing the legal, statutory, and civil rights concerns outlined in our prior correspondence delivered at your last meeting. This lack of response from a governing body responsible for the health and welfare of this community is deeply troubling. The concerns raised by the NAACP and others were brought with a formal cease and desist notice to the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners regarding the proposed restructuring of leadership within the county health department. Such notice raised serious legal concerns involving the Michigan Public Health Code, statutory governance requirements, and potential civil rights implications for how public health decisions are made in St. Clair County. Today, the 10-day response period has expired. Let me be clear. that silence in the face of serious legal concerns about public health governance is not acceptable. The NAACP, as well as other concerned groups, has a responsibility to ensure that government actions are lawful, transparent, and protective of the communities they serve. If the county chooses not to address these issues responsibly, we are fully prepared to pursue all available legal remedies, including seeking immediate injunctive relief and initiating further action where appropriate. Our goal is not conflict. Our goal is accountability. The people of St. Clair County deserve decisions that are lawful, transparent, and rooted in the protection of public health and civil rights. If these standards are not met, the NAACP and our allies will no doubt act. Respectfully, Kevin Watkins, Branch President, Port Huron NAACP, dated Thursday, March 5th, 2026, and addressed to the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners. Thank you.
Bill Ford, followed by Patrick Thompson. Bill Ford, followed by Patrick Thompson.
Good evening. I'm Bill Ford, and I'm going to read this so I don't ramble on about myself. I would truly like to be a member of the Veteran Affairs Committee. I'm a firm believer in doing what I can in helping veterans and their families access discharge documents, finding service to assist in their needs, and to get them connected with veteran service officers. I served in Vietnam from 69 to 70, and I'm a special disabled vet. 68 to 90, I was active duty Air Force, security police. I worked my way up to superintendent of administration for the security police squadron. After that, I was assigned to oversee the base security operations. 92 to 2009, I worked for the state of Michigan as Veterans Employment Service Representative. At the Cadillac office, I was assigned to assist veterans with their employment process. I screened vets for any barriers to employment. In my office, I had one American Legion veteran service officer 1 day a week. He educated me on how to pre-screen vets for his services. It didn't take me long to have vets waiting for him in the days he was in the office. I became aware of VSOs serving the area, other VSOs. Before I knew it, I had 4 VSOs assigned to my office weekly. My manager requested me to take over the veteran services at the Manistee Employment Office 2 days a week, and I recruited VSOs for that office. I worked in that position for about 8 years until I retired. 2009, 2012, I was a post-service officer at the American Legion Post 22 in North Glen, Colorado. I wrote grants and secured approximately $20,000 each year from the state of Colorado, the cigarette tax fund. This money was used to provide financial assistance to veterans and their families when they came in and requested it. From 2015, I transferred my membership to the American Legion Post 449, right here in Marysville. I asked the current post-service officer, Ed Souls, if he had any interest in resigning. He said no, that he loves it, and he's still in that position today. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Patrick Thompson, followed by Dan Crocker.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Patrick Thompson. I also appreciate your accepting of my allowing me to maybe be a part of the Veterans Affairs Board. A little history about me. I am a 23-year veteran of the United States Army with service all over the world to include Afghanistan and Iraq. When I came home from that, one of my first jobs as I retired was actually a service officer in that office. I moved from there to be a service officer in Macomb County, where I stayed for a while, and then went to the Detroit Arsenal, where I built one-off prototype military vehicles. When that came to an end because of, we'll just say government cuts, I was then afforded an opportunity to work with Disability Network of Eastern Michigan on their supportive service to veterans and families, where I work on rapid rehousing homeless veterans and homeless veteran prevention currently. I am very well embedded in the veteran community here as a former commander of VFW Post 796 and current lifetime member. I'm also a member of Post 449 of the American Legion in Marysville. Pending any questions, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
No questions.
Thank you.
Dan Crocker, followed by Will Krewall.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners. I'm here to apply for the position of Veterans Committee. My name is Daniel Crocker from the city of Port Huron, born and raised resident of the city of Port Huron. After graduating from high school, I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps and served aboard the USS Kitty Hawk and Marine Detachment in the Gulf of Tonkin for 2 tours of duty off the coast of Vietnam. I was honorably discharged as a sergeant. After my tour of duty in the Marine Corps, I returned back home to employment at Mueller Brass. I ended up in the industrial engineering department. They did away with my division. And so then I applied for a veteran service organization's job, was hired as a veterans counselor and claim representative. And then I worked there for a few years and I got another offer from one of the larger organizations, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Foreign Wars hired me as a veterans counselor and claims consultant, and accredited and certified with the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs to present claims before that agency. After 10 years of employment with the VFW, I was selected as only the 4th director of Veteran Services since 1921 for the Department of Michigan Veterans of Foreign Wars. During that time, I was selected as the founding president of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs Great Lakes National Cemetery Advisory Council. In 2010, I was also elected as the founding co-director of the Michigan Veterans Coalition, which provided service of 5 organizations through state tax appropriated dollars to services for veterans across the state of Michigan. In addition, I served in several Michigan State Veterans Affairs committees and offered testimony on legislation on behalf of veterans of foreign wars. I retired from the VFW in 2013 after 32 years of service. The St. Clair County Department of Veterans Affairs, I have applied as under the auspices of the body that has been since 1944. The Veterans Affairs Department and its committee has given the operating direction and authority under the umbrella of the Michigan Compliant Laws of Public Act 192 of 1953, Section 35, 621 through 624. The overall mission is to serve those who have served. As a result of the training, we were offered to the staff of the VFW through the county. They were offered to go to our proficiency training on a national level, and their increased in intelligence reflected in the recoveries that came back to the state of Michigan and through the county of St. Clair County. Currently, I serve on the board of directors for the Blue Water Fallen Heroes Banner Project and the St. Clair County Council Monument Registration Committee and the board of directors for the Sports Hall of Fame. A member of Crossroads Community Church in St. Clair, I serve as an usher and a security team. Held a lifetime membership in the VFW, Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Foreign Wars, and Marine Corps League. It is my privilege and distinct honor to once again serve again with this committee.
You need to wrap it up.
Counties have any questions that may pertain to what I've just said? Thank you.
Thank you. Will Krewall, followed by Kathy Swantek.
My apologies to any appointees that might have yet to speak. We're going to shift gears a little bit. My name is Will Krewall. I was born, raised, work, and live in St. Clair County. It is not controversial to say that our country's perception of public health has gone through a great many trials since 2020. This spectrum of opinions has left many commenters, like myself, wondering where we got so lost. To me, it felt like the genesis of our present skepticism centers around the mask mandates. That then snowballed into vaccine efficacy denial, and in that climate, it has given rise to fads like drinking unpasteurized milk and anti-fluoridation. And now, In our home, we've allowed a minority our future of access to common sense policies and programs based on a rationale of fear, skepticism, cynicism, and a false sense of freedom fighting. Public health, to me, is best measured by how well we care for our least informed and our most vulnerable populations. To lift those who struggle is an honorable cause with tangible benefits for everyone. And because of that reasoning, I stand with the nurses, NPs, and clerks that worked at the now defunct school clinics, the very ones that supported the local families of farmers, teachers, laborers, and first responders. I stand with the good people at the Port Huron office, the folks that educate in our schools, local organizations, the ones participating in community outreach events, going to the soup kitchen, helping with Medicaid applications, and offering referrals. Lastly, I stand with our current health officer. She has handled her duties with grace, care, professionalism, and decorum. She's as good a Michigander as one can find, and I'm proud to have her investing in our community. With her leadership, I hope we do not remain lost for long. Thank you.
Kathy Swantek, followed by Dave Allison. Kathy Swantek, followed by Dave Allison.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Kathy Swantek. I live in St. Clair, District 5. And I'm up here to urge you not to approve combining the medical director and health officer into one position. Our community is best served by a check and balance structure that currently exists at our health department. Our current health officer, Liz King, has done an exceptional job during her tenure in the position and knows our community. My perception, just mine, is that the recommendation to combine the two positions is based on political ideology and not in the best interests of our community. Thank you.
Dave Allison, followed by, oh man, Emmerich Latulip?
So I get a,
You have to reset
oh,
the
there we
clock
go,
there.
reset, okay. Good evening. I came to address the same situation, but yet I came to support the Health Advisory's decision to combine the medical director and the officer, medical officer, I'm sorry. I was listening to the young man speak here, and I'm sorry I got a little shaken, because we spend 4 times per capita on medical expenses in this country. But we have the sickest population of any civilized nation. But yet we stand here, and the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and over again, expect different results. But we don't realize we've been taken over by the medical industrial complex. If we don't understand that pharmacies own colleges, they own hospitals. And we found out through COVID, if you went against their protocol, you were threatened that your license to be removed. And so that's why I'm here. I think we have failed our community. And I'm thankful we have Dr. Nevin, because he's questioned this protocol, the 72 shots or immunizations now requires students to take in public school, has proven it's not made our society any more healthy than some third world nations. And he said, we need to look at that. And obviously, I felt bad when someone in the last meeting mentioned Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I came to defend him. He mentioned to him that Robert F. Kennedy is of no consequence because at one time in his life he snorted cocaine off a toilet seat. So I want to ask you this. In that self-righteous statement, I want to ask you, if you were a young man growing up in this country, and you knew that your uncle, who just happened to be the president of the United States, had his head blown off, and that still played throughout this land. Not to mention that a few years later, your own father was shot because of the people disagreed with his views. And you're going to poke fun at that? I'm telling you, you're no different than the character of those who took the cheap shots that killed those two men. You're the same ilk. So I came here to defend Dr. Nevin and also the commissioner, the board, health commissioners directory board to combine those positions. And somebody at the last meeting says, you want to bring religion into this? Bring it on. I appreciate the invitation, I really do, because when we said the pledge, one nation under God, I still believe that.
Emmerich Latulip, followed by Libby Prill.
I wanted to piggyback a little bit off of what this person said, and I am also speaking only from my own experience and not from anyone else's, and so I did not prepare much written to say, so I may speak slow, but I will be speaking from the heart. I will say I don't necessarily believe that it would be trying anything new to be merging these positions once again, considering they were once one position. On top of that, everything else that has happened in our county since I have become aware of Dr. Nevin's appointment. I will say that a person who has had a lot of childhood abuse, that we are abandoning and disempowering children when we continue to take away the services that they benefit from, period, point blank. I was sexually abused by my grandfather when I was a child. 90% of children who are sexually abused are abused by family or someone that is close to them that they know personally. And if that's going to be the case continuously throughout our country, clearly, I mean, throughout the entire world, but this is our statistics for our country, we need to make sure we're continuing to foster furthered protection of those children and not less. And when we continue to put people into office that say they want parents' bills of rights, when not all of these parents have their children's best interest at heart, we cannot sit here and act like we are in full support of children. Thank you.
Libby Prill, followed by Rebecca Campo.
Good evening. I am here to support the Advisory Board of Health. These are remarkable people that are highly trained, well-educated in their fields, that have done their due diligence and have carefully considered the needs of this community. So 4 years ago, we decided after COVID that empowering one person was not, we wanted to try something different. It didn't work for us during COVID. We've given that a try for the last 4 years, and what we found is what we're doing still doesn't work. The precedent for one guy at the top is kind of the precedent for our entire culture. You know, you have a president of the United States who has a system of checks and balances via the other two houses of the government. You have corporate CEOs that, you know, the guy at the top of the pyramid there. But the checks and balances is their board. As with the health department, I believe in empowering our advisory board of health. I do believe in the one person structure that reports to a board, and that board reports to the board, which is you. I encourage you to proceed with restructuring, and it's nothing personal. I appreciate the work that the health department does. But I support Dr. Nevin's vision. This is a changing world. We have more challenges. And I think that, we hear a lot about, we're shutting down all these clinics. That's really not the case. In fact, the one clinic that we keep, saying, that we shut it down, it actually had shut down in March. It had shut down several months before Dr. Nevin had ever issued his memo recommending that we not continue participating in a grant that has strings attached to it, such that no other county in the thumb will participate in that grant. So we're kind of coming a line into our fellow counties that have chosen to pursue these services in these clinics via alternate means. And the services through third-party providers not only provides more services, it provides them in more locations. We can actually expand what we offer the county, but we will not be expanding it if we stay in one place, and that's what we would be doing if we don't restructure. The other thing is, and this is no disrespect, my daughter is a registered nurse, and I'm in awe of her for the talents that she has. I fundamentally have a problem with a medical doctor with a great deal of expertise reporting to a nurse. I just don't think that's the way that we should be structured. And I believe that
Wrap it up.
Okay, thank you. And I believe that the epidemiological expertise that Dr. Nevin has is what we need.
You need to wrap it up, I'm sorry.
Okay, is what we need to guide us through the transitions that we will be facing going forward into the future. Thank you so much.
Rebecca Campo, followed by Kristen Hayes.
Hi there, and thank you. I'm following many very articulate public speakers, and that, for whatever reason, is not me up at this podium, so I might be reading a little off my notes, but just wanted to say thank you. I'm here, I work at the health department. I'm in my 13th year there. I have some of my coworkers here as well, and just want to let you know we're not here in any adversarial capacity or to debate anything. We found it important to come and kind of just speak a little bit about why we work in public health, because up until recently, most of public health work happened behind the scenes. So usually it was done quietly and no one really knew that we even existed. So, I feel that a lot of the decisions that you on the board make are simply agenda items, but to us, they are our professions and careers that we have invested many years of education and training into. And so I just ask that as you discuss and weigh the decisions that you make, that you consider the people behind those decisions. Thank you so much.
Kristen Hayes, followed by Joanna Jones.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Kristen Hayes. I live in St. Clair Township, and I am a registered nurse that works at the St. Clair County Health Department. Now, I'll be honest with you all, I knew very little about public health or anything about the health department earlier in my nursing career, but all that changed in 2020 when, unfortunately, my 6-year-old son was diagnosed with high-risk stage 4 cancer. At that time, I was a floor nurse working in the hospital, and I had to abruptly quit my position there to care for my son. Thankfully, my family was put in contact with the St. Clair County Health Department Children's Special Health Care Services, and we were set with a nurse that was absolutely amazing and so kind to us. She helped us set up a secondary insurance that helped my family pay for medical expenses and fees that our private insurance just would not cover. The services from the health department got us through a very difficult time in our family's life, and I truly don't know where we would be today without those services. I knew that when able, that I would love to work for such an amazing organization one day, and I was happy enough to take a position with the health department 3 years ago. This job has enabled me to not only fulfill my passion for caring for others, but it also has given me the time to stay home and take care of my family and my son as well. So this job has by far been the most rewarding position I've ever had. There are so many amazing people that work at the health department, and so much good pours out of that building. We all want to help, and we want to see this county and all of the people that live in it thrive. All those years ago, I did not think that I needed health department services. Not me, didn't think I would ever need them. But I didn't need them until I actually did. So we want to continue to provide these amazing services to the people of this county, and we want to be there should any of you ever need us. Thank you.
Joanna Jones, followed by Kim Scheibel.
Good evening. My name is Joanna. I've worked at the health department here for almost 5 years now. Prior to that, I was a bedside nurse, and during that time, I made it my vow that I would, made a personal vow, actually, to promote and protect the health and well-being of our community. I'm also a mother. Not only have I personally used the health department services growing up that were available to us, but I depend on them with my children. I am also so fortunate to see firsthand, personally and professionally, the benefits that our health department provides to our community. Thank you. That's it.
Kim, followed by Dawn Nowicki.
Good evening. My name is Kim Scheibel, and I'm here again asking the board to please not combine the two health department positions that you chose to separate a few years ago. I have friends who worked for the health department and have retired who are just sick about what is happening to the health department. And then I've spoken personally with current employees who tell me the same thing the retirees did about how demeaning, arrogant, and condescending Dr. Nevins is with them and with the employees. I was at Hobby Lobby one day, and the checkout lady heard me talking to someone else about the health department situation, and the clerk just rolled her eyes and said her significant other also worked there and how awful it is. Have you individually gone to the health department and personally spoken with the employees to allow them to possibly give you an insight that maybe you're not getting? I remember the night that many of those health department employees came here and risked their jobs to speak out, but still you followed blindly along with Dr. Nevin, and who is not from here and who will not be here once he has destroyed our health department. He'll move on. Shame on all of you for allowing that to happen. Liz King, I thank you for trying to save our health department and all you've done. And to the health department employees who are so dedicated and caring, thank you for continuing to show up and do your jobs under such immense and harsh circumstances. I hope that at some point we can put all of this behind us and we can move forward and get back on a nice, even keel with our health department. Thank you.
I apologize. The next speaker is David Nowicki. Following David would be Fred Fuller.
Hello, I'm Dave Nowicki, as you know, as it's been announced. Anyway, I'm here for, of course, the Health Department for Dr. Nevin. I've lived in this area for 60 years. I worked at Selfridge in hazardous material and hazardous waste for over 20 years. Dr. Nevin has been very open with us in the Health Department. I've never even been to the Health Department hardly at all, so I really didn't know who actually worked there until Dr. Nevin started. He's very open. He's very involved with people in St. Clair County. And one of the things that I've been fighting is the solar panels. He's been on this solar panel health thing for quite a while. He's fighting along with the St. Clair community people in this area, which just got shot down supposedly by a judge in our county after many, many meetings of fighting against this and just getting disapproved of having these solar panels. It'd be a bad time to change people, the doctors, in the health department at this point. Because maybe the other side is trying to get somebody in there to support them even more. So I see that there's two good people, and joining the two jobs together, I think is a bad idea. I think if you got two good people working, we should continue on, give them a little bit more work to do or things to do, but I think two people are better than one, and they both have a lot of knowledge of the health department. That's all I have to say.
Fred Fuller, followed by Carrie Darden.
It's on your agenda tonight to consider combining the positions of health officer and medical director. The only reason I can think of for you doing that would be to give the combined position to Dr. Remington Nevin, and that would be very bad for this county. I've been doing research on Dr. Nevin's background. I'm a genealogist, so I'm good at research. I don't know how well you vetted him, but I'm sure you're aware of his background in challenging governments for giving mefloquine to soldiers as protection against malaria, because that might cause symptoms that are mistaken for PTSD. I haven't found any studies that prove there is causation involved in that as opposed to correlation. But Dr. Nevin did persuade several countries to stop using that drug. If Dr. Nevin was right about that problem, I commend him. It takes bravery to speak truth to power. However, that doesn't mean that Dr. Nevin would be a good fit for a public health administrator. He has an abrasive and self-centered personality. My research has shown that he has caused trouble just about everywhere he went. That's his personality. It can be a good personality for challenging orthodoxy, but it's a bad personality in serving the public. Dr. Nevin, in the year that he's been here, has not shown much interest in public health. He seems much more concerned about political issues. He's cut our health services left and right, teen health clinics, vaccine outreach. What's next? We've discovered through FOIAs that he's had many grievances and complaints filed against him by staff and by county citizens. Are you aware of that? Have you taken any action on it? I've heard that when Dr. Nevin visited Harbor Impact Ministries in Kimball Township for their monthly Impact Day last September, he told people he was carrying a gun, which caused much concern at that event, particularly because it was so soon after the church shooting in Grand Blanc. Harbor Ministries, for those who don't know, was founded by several area churches to provide emergency food and essential household goods to people in need. My understanding is that it's illegal in Michigan to carry a gun on church property. Board members, you are crazy if you make Dr. Nevin the head of our health department. It will cause you and our county trouble for years, and our tax dollars will be spent on many lawsuits.
You need to wrap it up, Fred.
And if you're negligent, if you don't act upon the grievances and complaints
Wrap
that
it
have
up,
so
Fred.
far been filed against Dr.
Everybody gets 3
Nevin,
minutes. Please wrap it up.
I got 3 more words to say. If you don't act on those grievances against Dr. Nevin by staff members and members of the public, you're negligent. Thank you.
Carrie Darden, followed by Angela Dufresne. Carrie Darden, followed by Angela Dufresne.
In regard to the dysfunction occurring in the St. Clair County Health Department, I have a few thoughts. I went back and I looked at a lot of the videos of what happened, and what a mess. As I see it, you can either recombine the positions or build straightforward limits of power and consequences into each role. In this case, Dr. Nevin is acting appropriately for his role. He is following established guidelines and following the law. He is diligent in following science that sometimes does not serve the agenda of the entrenched system. I would like to point out that Dr. Nevin is a medical doctor with both a master's and doctorate in public health. His recommendations are not unqualified, irresponsible, or based on conspiracy. He eagerly follows research where it leads. He is progressive in that manner, a respecter of the law and individual rights, and is not attached to the teats of Big Pharma. The health officer, on the other hand, is a registered nurse. She has disrespected the medical officer's role and sought to undermine it. She is an animal of the system. She is adept at administration and playing politics. You could fire her, but there is an entire like-minded culture behind her that seems to prefer the public not know their rights about vaccines, or when that keeps off the parent radar, what they're teaching or suggesting to our kids about sex. I'm not sure how you fix all that. When the health officer role was split, it was clearly assumed that the two positions would be cooperative and share the same goals, but this is not the case, as apparently it is in other counties. It's not that our commission has played politics in separating the roles or in considering recombining them. It's that no one foresaw the downsides of hiring a medical officer who is a free thinker, who, yes, based on science, sees things differently. If both positions are kept, the county has to clearly identify in the health officer's position that their role is to carry out the direction of the medical officer's recommendations without undermining or otherwise acting to oppose it. The authority given has to be carefully articulated. Violating this should be grounds for termination, whether the health officer or any employee is conspiring to do the same. Whatever is decided, the health officer working against the role and policy recommendations of our county's medical officer cannot continue.
Angela Dufresne.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. I couldn't make the last meeting, so I just wanted to personally thank all of you for voting to appeal the solar regulation lawsuit. I really appreciate that you guys are going to bat for your community. And then I also would like to say, I support Dr. Nevin. The lady that spoke before me, she nailed it. I mean, that's exactly the problem. I really think that it would be good to keep the positions separate, but it can't go on the way it's been going on. This has been going on for well over a year. She is not working with him. There's a problem with that. So thank you guys for voting unanimously to appeal that lawsuit, and bless you as you have to make these decisions tonight.
Having no other citizens wishing to be heard, we'll move on to updates. Okay, I'll take it. This is Tracy Burgee.
Thank you very much for being here tonight and listening to all these people with their concerns, because truly, we are a community that we need some help here. We can't continue to go on fighting like, where does this position sit or where does it not? I think that we should be honest about the ramifications. If we continue on this way, nothing is going to be positive and continue. I think of how people come together either in a marriage or they come together as partners. And if they want to work together, we are in. But when you don't see that and you see the struggle, it is tragic at best, tragic. And you know what? I live here. I've lived here my whole life. I raised 2 children here, and I believe that we can do better. We can do better than this. And then when I look at the things that happened with Commissioner Angie's daughter, and bringing that to light, that's sitting in that teen health center and making some redirection. And now that you know that this is there. We have to do better. For y'all to sit there and think, oh, maybe this is gonna go away. It's not going to go away. But we need to continue to support and figure out how we can groove and put those together. We wanna meet the needs of all of our families. I don't think anybody up there on that board says, oh my gosh, I don't care about the families here. I think you all are here and have proven that it is important that our children and our families are met with respect and with good care. And then as for Dr. Nevin, I'm saddened by some of the comments that I hear. I've gotten to meet him and know him. I do not find any of these, and I think he's a strong old man, but he's a smart man, and he loves this community. He wants to help. He wants to bring these things forward. If he did not care, he would have left and been done. I don't know about you, but the commission, or I'm so sorry, the health department, when I look at the turmoil that's happening there, I would not want to work in that. That would make me very uncomfortable. But you know what? They continue to press on, and what we need to do is look at what is going to be best for our children and for our families. And what we need to do there is we have to decide. We have to make a decision. Like, how long do we go on with this? And I feel that this is a decision that I know that you're all not going to take lightly, but we have to do better. And I believe that when we are accountable to Health Advisory Board, that hopefully we can keep that in there like that. I don't believe that the model before this right now, I don't believe there was any structure there. That woman, she just came and did what she wanted, and those people just kind of went, okay. And my kids lived through COVID, and we're still struggling. And so you know what? I'm sorry if we don't believe, but I don't. But I'm going to trust y'all to make a good decision. Thank you.
So having no other citizens wishing to be heard, we'll move on to updates. Are there any updates from commissioners? Commissioner Rushing?
Yes, thank you, everybody, for being here, but especially the veterans. I guess it was Mr. Ford. He served in Vietnam when my dad was there as a Green Beret, and also at the same time, my oldest brother was there. So I really appreciate your service to the country, and thank you very much.
Any other updates from commissioners? Seeing none, we'll move on to conceptual initiatives. There are none on the agenda tonight, no old business. Moving on to new business, item 7A, the library board appointment.
Make motion to send to full board.
Support. Any discussion? I would like to point out that at your place settings tonight, there was a letter, someone is asking to be removed from that, so we'll remove that individual prior to the next board meeting. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7B, Veterans Fair Board, the appointments.
Make a motion to send that to the full board, the applicants.
Any support?
Support.
Any discussion?
I'd like to ask that we add the applications that were filed after the deadline set by the county, particularly Mr. Ford. I'd like to ask his application be submitted for consideration as well.
And he was at our place setting this evening, so everyone has a copy of that as well.
And it'll be attached before the next agenda.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Are we going to vote on that? Because I'd like us to actually adhere to a deadline, and if it's supposed to be in by a certain deadline, that's when it's supposed to be in by. If it's closed, it's closed.
Commissioner Samasco?
I had communicated with Corporation Counsel as a parliamentarian on that issue because someone raised the question. I looked at our bylaws and then I sent an email out to everybody and then asked Mr. Fletcher to look at it. And then I think the conclusion, Gary, if I'm correct, is there's nothing in our bylaws or Robert's rules that would exclude people from being considered based on an administrative deadline. So, and I know I talked to Dave and he expressed the same thing, that he was a believer in the strict deadline. I was a believer that we should have a really open process and encourage as many people as possible and not have that, not have a strict deadline. And even up to, let's say, the night of the vote, if a really great candidate applies, we could then, as a group, decide whether or not to give that person consideration, rather than just say you're out. So that was my position. Gary, am I correct on that?
Yeah, there's no deadline in the rules.
the bylaws, any rule the board's established or Robert's rules. So if you want to have a deadline, you're going to need to establish it, maybe a week before well, you were kind of applying one that made sense because you can figure out whether people are qualified, whether if there's a residency required, whether they meet it. But the board would have to take some formal action establishing a cutoff date if that's what you want to do.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Vandenbosch?
Sure.
Commissioner Rushing?
I definitely would not support a deadline. What we have is people that serve on, we have about 30 boards, and they get a notification that, do they want to resubmit to be reappointed, because they're currently sitting on the board. So they get notification from the county to resubmit, and then they just check off a box. A lot of the residents don't find out, who we represent, don't find out about this until they're told about it. A lot of times, it is a time restrictive thing, and especially with the veteran, I'll go back to veterans, because my youngest brother's a Marine, and I spent 16 years on bases as a military brat. But I think we need to have consideration for anybody that shows up here. Myself, if somebody showed up at that door at any one of our meetings, and we're making that appointment that night, I would still give that person consideration. I think that's what we need to do as county commissioners.
So the motion on the table is to accept the applicants that were presented to us either electronically or that we received this evening. It sounds to me like there's a separate, bigger discussion that needs to happen outside of this motion. And if a commissioner would like to take that up and bring it as an initiative, we can vote on it outside of this process.
I did mention that to Tom, that maybe we could look at that as a committee thing, and maybe in April, and just to get that out on the table.
Okay.
Officially, what do we believe, what do we want to do on that? But at this point, I would like to see us accept all the applications that we've received so far and send them up to full board.
That is the motion and the second that we have on the table right now. Is there any other discussion related to this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So thank you for taking that on, and we'll address it at an upcoming meeting to have some formal discussion around it.
We'll have it on the agenda in April.
Thank you. Item 7C, the library website redesign proposal from Hadrut.
Make the motion, send it to full board.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7D, the Community Mental Health Board appointments.
Make a motion to send that to the full board?
Support.
Just so that the record is clear, we did receive a couple more applications for the CMH appointments as well after the deadline, and I think they should be included as well, just so the record's clear.
Well, there really isn't a deadline, so.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I just do want to add that I've received 7 copies of 2 reference letters for Steve Fair. So I can receive and give those to you guys also. But they were at my desk here. Just want to make sure you guys get them.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7E, the Health Officer Medical Director position structure. I believe that was put on the agenda by Commissioner Rushing.
Yes, and because I did, I would like to make the motion that we accept the recommendation from our Advisory Health Board to forward this to the full board for consideration to combine the 2 positions.
I'll support that.
Any discussion?
Yeah.
Commissioner Zeller?
So, naive questions here. So, to be clear, the motion is to send the recommendation to the full board. Is there still time for discussion around the structure of that? Or is there a structure that's being proposed in this?
That would be up to Commissioner Rushing, who made the motion.
Yes, as the discussion goes forward, potentially there's a 6-month window to get anything in place that, for any concerns any commissioner has, for the structure and potentially correcting some of the, I don't know if that's the right word, but the contracts that were issued for the health officer and the medical officer, I believe we need to get those corrected. One concern is that they're automatically renewable, and they don't come before this board the way the contracts are currently written when they come up. So I want that taken out of the language, and hopefully all the commissioners will be looking at that. I have asked Tom to address this. He is addressing it, and that'll come to us at some point. What'll happen, I believe, and we discussed this, if we do decide as a group to combine the two positions, I believe we'll have a 6-month window to address any concerns that Paul has or any commissioner has to make sure that we get the right wording and whatever is necessary in place.
Other discussion?
Yeah, so just clarifying comment. So if we're open to combining the role, we would still have the opportunity to adjust contract language and/or adopt bylaws that provide safeguards to avoid red-blue whiplash, correct?
Definitely, I'll even add that into the motion if I could.
It's already happening, so it's a done deal, so what the hell?
Commissioner Smasko?
I guess I would just say that, I'll reflect on Kevin Watkins' cease and desist order, to not consider this. Under the Public Health Code, there's only two models. One is the medical health officer model, which is what we had with Mercantont and the years that preceded that, and the other's medical director, health officer. Both of those are viable options under the Public Health Code. And then, the cease and desist orders as well, to me, to not consider a viable option is probably dereliction of duty. I'm not saying we decide, right now, we're not deciding right now whether we support it or not support it, but, based on the comments, we're all here, we all see the division and the importance of this decision to so many people, passionate, very passionate in both directions. And, it's our obligation under the Public Health Code as the local governing entity to provide direction when things such as this occur. So we're going to have to do that as a body corporate, as a group, decide, okay, how many of us believe we should go one direction or the other? And to answer Paul's question, I know everyone's looked at this a lot. I've spent a tremendous amount of time. I've met with the health department, with Liz King, Brown, their finance director. I've had finance produce all the budgets for me. I'm very familiar with the Public Health Code. I've looked at the administrative rules. I've tried to educate myself on what is medical practice, what is medical policy and procedure, operations, consistent with the administrative rules. So yes, there's a lot of work we've done on it. And to answer Paul's question on, say, safeguards or how we're going to structure this one way or the other, I think my intention would be to consider any safeguards, if there's issues, you're talking red-blue whiplash, to make that fair, find some direction so that we have command and control and we don't have this division within the department, the department fighting itself on matters. That, I think, needs to be addressed, and the best way to do it, I've had discussions with commissioners both ways, and I'm not discerning where I'm at exactly on that, but I do know we need to address this, and in my opinion, we need to address it. It's gone on too long. We have to come to some conclusion on the best thing to do here. So I think does that help you, Paul?
So I think my question is just procedurally, are we voting to combine the role and then make safeguards, or are we going to make safeguards and then vote on combining the role?
Go ahead, Gary. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I think the motion was confusing, and I think that's what you're expressing. So the way I heard Commissioner Rushing's motion was to send that recommendation to the full board. Well, I don't know what that means. It means for implementation or the other things you get landfill reports and, or information you receive, and it just moves on to the next meeting. So I don't know what it means. If it means, I think that's what you're expressing. Does it mean by voting yes, the board is agreeing to implement the Health Advisory Board Committee recommendation, or it's just sent on as an agenda item for further consideration?
My intent on the motion is to combine the positions and then take the 6-month window that is in both contracts and get any concerns that the commissioners may have, get addressed and corrected prior to.
So, I think the correct motion then, I hear what you're saying is to approve the recommendation of the Health Advisory Board and send it to the full board for a discussion about implementation. That's what I think you're saying.
Would you agree to so amend your motion, Dave, to consistent with that? Do you agree with amending?
Yes.
So the Corporation Counsel stated the motion appropriately. Is that your second?
Sure.
Okay, so, sorry.
We're still discussing. That's exactly what we should do. Get everything address any concern any commissioner has in regards to our health department. It could be the library board, it could be any of the numerous 30 boards that we have, to make sure that we make it better, make any corrections, and make sure that whoever sits in these seats further down the road, or at our health department, or any other board, or anything else, Tom Hall, somebody's going to be sitting in his seat sometime, somebody's going to be sitting in Gary's. But if we come across something that needs to be addressed, and what Steve said, it would be a dereliction if we do not address it and try to fix it. And if you go through some of the wording in the contracts, that those definitely need to be addressed. What happened in the past in regards to the automatic renewals, I think that needs to be addressed. I think we also need to have those two positions, whoever's sitting in them, that you don't have one subordinate to the other. They have that report directly to our county administrator and the county commissioners, because we're the ones that are elected to office. That's what happened with Dr. Mercantant. She made decisions, and she was taken in private meetings at the time with, so we didn't have a quorum. And what happened in October of 2020, she made decisions and did not include the county commissioners. Do her statutorial duty. Whoever sits in those seats, do your Michigan State constitutional statutorial duties and fulfill those. But we are the elected officials. She decided not to include us in that discussion, and she said she wouldn't do that again. Then on December 31st of 2020, she made 17 phone calls, documented every one of them, gave us the information on that. And that's what brought about what happened with Dr. Mercantant. What we decided to do was put both positions up for bid when the contract came up 6 months later. I believe it was 7 months, would have been in July. But what Dr. Mercantant, we never actually took a vote to separate them. What we did, we took a vote to have the positions put up for applications for anybody that potentially wanted. Dr. Mercantant took the position, and she didn't put an application or resume to fulfill either one. And that's how we ended up with Liz King, and we also ended up with, and I believe there was 2 other medical officers prior to Dr. Nevin. We do have Dr. Nevin now, but again, whoever's sitting in those seats, we need to fix it, and I think we have a responsibility as county commissioners.
I've got
I
some.
can feel you.
Got some things to say.
All right, Commissioner Angie.
Thank you. So, this board, though it had different members, voted 4-2 to split this position into 2 jobs just 4 short years ago, precisely because it recognized the problematic nature of the concentration of power in one person, which we all saw during the time of COVID. One commissioner at the time even stated the then medical director, quote, was in her legal authority to issue all of those COVID mandates, despite the Board of Commissioners specifically adopting a resolution opposing those exact mandates, and despite the Board of Commissioners specifically sending letters to the medical director telling her to lift those ordered mandates. She did not do that. This commissioner went on to say the board does not have standing to intimidate, pressure, or terminate a person for exercising their lawfully provided authority, even if they don't agree with them. A commissioner in a department head not being on the same page is a communication issue, normally handled by HR. At issue were our very civil liberties, lockdowns, quarantines, school closures, business closures, mask mandates, contact tracing, etc., with parental rights, once again, taking center stage. Many at the time complained the concentration of power into one single individual was the reason their voices were ignored and their rights were trampled. Making giant policy decisions based on individual personalities or anecdotal situations is never advisable. That's why I think it's important to maintain a balance of power. I was more than impressed with how the medical director and the health officer both stepped forward in the wake of the transparency that was brought to the Port Huron Teen Clinic. Both took full responsibility for the situation. Both took immediate action to rectify the problems. This was the most dramatic example of the 2 of them working together on a problem for which they both took responsibility, and together they solved the issue quite quickly, without finger-pointing, excuse-making, or anything of the sort. They both took responsibility as well they should have. As a commissioner and an impacted parent in that situation, I was more than satisfied with the swift action that was taken. Not only that, Ms. King came in here in a very emotional statement, apologized directly to me and my daughter, which was very much appreciated. Followed up by Dr. Nevin, who also took responsibility in writing. This gives me hope. They are able to work together into the future with some adjustments to the two-person system that can be addressed specifically at a later date. Thank you.
Other comments from commissioners?
Just one quick comment that, just because something goes to full board doesn't mean we have to actually take action. We can table things, we can not take action. So that's just, I want to make a record of that as well. It's not, the vote doesn't mean it's a done deal. It just means we're going to look at it for final action, and perhaps that'll happen. I think that's the gist of it.
Any other commissioners?
Commissioner Angie, ditto. I just want to repeat that. You did such a good job, there's not much more for me to say.
Thank
Come on, Dave, give it a try. Come on.
No.
Hi, so I'd like to just add in there that I am in agreement that we need to look at those two positions, and I think we need to have some restructuring and some clear delineation of duties. I think there's accountability on both sides as to like communication. As Commissioner Rushing pointed out, that was a downfall of a previous medical officer. I think we're on that road now with the individuals in those two positions. I think that we need to look at restructuring the system that we have to give both of those individuals a chance to correct and work together before we rush into going backwards and combining a position, which, a few years ago was not what we wanted to do. We wanted to move into a dual role, so there was a balance of power. And to Commissioner Zeller's standpoint of this red-blue whiplash, I know that that's sort of a in jest statement, but I think there's some real validity there that we need to look for some common ground so that we can remove as much politics as we can out of public health, because it really is about serving the healthcare needs of the citizens of our community. And it doesn't matter who is in those roles, whether they lean right or left, the core issue is still the healthcare of individuals. So I am not in favor of like building the plane as we fly it. I would like to see some restructuring done in both of their contracts and giving them time to each correct behavior and us to correct how we hold people accountable in not just this department, but across the board, and so that it's fair and consistent across all departments. Other commissioners want to add anything?
Yeah, I think I just need to clarify. I personally am open to exploring unifying the roles, but not unless there's safeguards in place first. So I appreciate the analogy of I don't want to build a plane while we're flying it. I think that's important. And I think the motion on the table right now is combine the roles and then build the safeguards. I think that's what the motion is.
That is the motion.
To accept the recommendation or approve the recommendation of the Health Advisory Board to combine the positions and send to the board for implementation discussion.
So then, I guess, Dave, is that what your motion was, or are you open to having safeguards in place?
Oh, I think like I've already talked to Tom, to address the contracts and get some of the concerns and when the contracts are drafted with this issue that we currently have or other issues, I believe the commissioners at the time made the best decision with the information that they were given. And we'll see other things that come up that need to be corrected. I believe the language in both contracts is just very minimal to correct both positions. And I think Gary Fletcher has already looked at some of them. I think it's very easy to get these concerns that Paul has addressed and include it with the positions for any time in the future. And again, we got about 6 months to get that. We can put that, when we vote on something.
Commissioner Samasco.
Just a question for Paul. Paul, do you have any, I like the idea of, I too am open to the idea of combining the positions with safeguards. I'm assuming that we're not just going to combine the positions and let it run afoul. We are the governing entity by statute. So do you have any particular ones, or how would you want to take time to develop some safeguards?
Yeah, I think I'd be more comfortable taking time to develop the safeguards. I don't want to poke anybody in the eye, but I've just met enough people, and the idea that we would agree to combine the role and then just in good faith, all of us agree that we would magically assemble on safeguards in a 6-month time frame, I think is challenging to stomach. So, yeah, I think I'd be more comfortable identifying safeguards, either board-adopted policies that govern the roles. Again, I'm open to combining the roles, but board-adopted policies or adjusted contract language, and maybe that's an and/or adjusted contract language, that we agreed on before we vote to combine the roles. I think that's where I'm at.
Tom, do you have any ideas on the way to facilitate that? I mean, that's something we could, I mean, it makes sense to, we can move it on and do that and then act on it if we have it in 2 weeks, or how long do you think it'd take to do something like that? Any thoughts?
Are we talking about contractual languages? I mean, is that what you guys want to
I think
see?
all of that, I think, you know, Dave's concern is, I've looked years ago at the job descriptions and at the contracts, and they quite frankly don't comport with the provisions of the administrative rule of the statute, particularly the reporting and all that. So I think they need to be adjusted or corrected if we're going to keep two positions. You know, the Health Advisory Board is a statutory board that's appointed. They've made a recommendation. Okay, I want to consider that. I want to move that along and consider that recommendation. I want to consider Paul Zeller's concerns or thoughts here too. It makes sense. Okay, let's say we're going to consider that as a viable option. What safeguards might we need in place to make that a viable option? If we can't come up with safeguards, then maybe it's not a viable option. So how do we take the time to get that in place? See, I think that's what Paul's looking for. So from as an administrator standpoint, you're kind of new at this, but how do you see that rolling out? Or Gary, maybe you have an idea on, do we form a committee? What do you do to effectuate that?
Well, I think if the vote passes, it's going to the next meeting to decide exactly what you're saying. And to me, it would be a combined, it's going to be one contract, then you're not going to have two.
Right.
And probably policies that provide the safeguards you're concerned about and other people are.
So can we move it forward, and if we don't have it, don't take action? I mean, what the idea would be, we wouldn't take action unless we had the safeguards. But you said that you had 4 commissioners at least that believed were adequate. And that's how that would work. If you didn't have 4 commissioners, whatever safeguards are suggested, it would fail because you don't have 4 votes.
I don't think that's the motion.
No, it's not the motion. No, the motion that I heard is you want to approve, you want them combined, and then at the next meeting, you decide implementation. So that'd be development of a contract, policies. You have months to do that. Tom could work on that. But I think you're down to the $364 question right now. Are they going to be combined or not?
Yeah, that's the motion on the table.
That's it.
Because that's my concern also is, I mean, we're talking about having, identifying or elaborating on, the 2 contract, the 2 positions. And is that going to exist? Do we develop a system to make that work? Or are we pivoting away from that and going to a 1 position, which is a contract, which is to determine the safeguards within? And I think that's the determining factor that.
A 1 position with safeguards.
Yeah, if that's what the board decides to do. But I think certainly, it sounds like there's some discussion even on.
So if we voted in favor of combining the positions with safeguards, that could happen.
We could develop that within policy, within contract, within different things, but we'd be talking about 1 specific contract versus 2 separate contracts.
What would be a time frame, Gary? A month, 2 months?
Yeah, a couple months.
Then if I potentially could, withdraw the motion and have, table it for 2 months and get all your safeguards addressed and have the contract drafted and make all the commissioners' concerns
Point of order.
addressed.
But does that provide direction?
There's a point of order, Commissioner Veenenbosch.
We have a question on the floor to make 1 position or continue our 2 position with changes. That's the question.
Dave withdrew his motion. If you withdraw your second, then we can take more time. I think that's what is on the table right now.
Commissioner Rushing, did you withdraw your motion?
I will withdraw my motion and table it for 2 months until we can get the necessary concerns addressed, whatever that is from every commissioner.
So I hate to apply the Robert's Rules hat, but you can't withdraw something and table it for 2 months.
Okay.
So you can withdraw it, the support's withdrawn, and you can reintroduce it at any time.
Okay, reintroduce it then.
Whenever the time is appropriate, if ever.
Are you good with that, Joy?
Can we call a vote? Can somebody else call the vote?
Not if you withdraw, if he withdraws the motion, it's gone.
I'll withdraw.
So there's no motion on the table at this time.
We've had our discussion. There's no action taken, and it can be reintroduced at a later date. That's, I think, where we're at. Correct?
Well, I've got a question then, because we're talking about, discussing the amendments to the medical director contract, but that motion has now been taken off the, withdrawn. So are we going to enter into a discussion about amending both of those contracts, as I suggested in my comments now?
What direction is the board going?
Right, exactly.
One person or two person? That's,
So, I mean, from what I'm hearing in the discussion, I mean, that is the question. We're divided on that. We're divided because we don't know the safeguards and contract language or board policies that make sense to support either position.
I think if somebody's going to introduce it at a later time, they should probably have an idea of the safeguards they're proposing and satisfy all that. I think that's where we're at. We've discussed it. Dave had it moved from, the recommendation was on our full board last month, I guess, or a couple weeks ago. Well, here, Dave had it moved here for discussion. We've discussed it. There was a motion. It's been withdrawn. We discussed it. I mean, I want some more time to look at it too. That'll be helpful. So I think we can move on.
Is it worth putting together a committee of 2 or 3 commissioners to work with Tom Hall to hear out some of these so that we are working together as a body and presenting a solution or 2 solutions, whatever that looks like, whether it's 1 position or 2 position, what those look like, and bring those forward to the board?
I'll tell you what Jeff Bohm used to do, and I was never a big fan of it. I call it the 3-commissioner mambo. You'd have 3 commissioners and the administrator sit down, so you didn't have a quorum, and you talk about stuff. And I never really liked that, because a lot of it was stuff I thought was not a proper place to do that, but that's kind of how the board chair did it. Now, under our bylaws, with board support, I can appoint committees. I can, in writing, support committees for a particular purpose that expires once that purpose is fulfilled. I would think we're better off to just get with our administrator, you know, the commissioners, 1 or 2 at a time, or individual or whatever, to put together our thoughts and see if we can't come up with a consensus. Do we want 1? Do we want split? What safeguards, if we're going to combine or not? And maybe get that hammered out. And then if we discern that we have some direction, then one of the commissioners can put it back on and we can take some action. But I think it'll take some time to look at it. And in fairness to everybody here that's passionate in both directions, I think that's necessary.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yeah, I think it's hard to have an intelligent vote without knowing what you're looking at. So I think that, to me, it would be curtain A is 2 contracts, what they're going to look like, what the policies are going to be. Curtain B would be 1 contract, what the policies are going to be and what the safeguards are going to be. So if I were sitting in your chair, I'd want to know, which I think what you're saying a lot, trying to get to the answer to, is what am I voting on? What's it going to look if it's 2 people like? What's it going to look like if it's 1? And then you know what you're voting on.
So, Tom, then it sounds like the direction is for you to meet with us in small groups to have this conversation and come up with 2 options for us to vet and openly discuss and talk about.
That's what I'm hearing also, and what I'll do is I'll work on, obviously, it would be 3 sets of contracts, potentially, 1 for the current structure in regards to the split between the health officer and the medical director, and then also 1 that evaluates the combined role, is what I'm hearing from the board.
Dr. Mercantile had a contract. I was here in 2011, we hired her, so there's models to look at. And then we have these other 2 that I think we need adjustment and so forth, so I agree.
That sounds really chaotic, disorganized, and discombobulated, if you ask me. I don't understand. We're going to each individually meet with Tom to talk about 1-person and 2-person models and possibly come up with safeguards for both. I'm really unclear. I don't really understand what we're talking about. Can somebody clarify?
I get it totally. We're gonna talk to our administrator about a couple different options, and he's going to take the information and then try to come up with a couple options we can consider. And like 1 person may not consider the joining at all. That's not even, curtain A is off the table. I don't even want to talk about it. I just want to go with with option 2, and that's how the discussion will be. And then we'll know where that's going, and they can develop, if it's going to be the two contracts and how we're going to adjust it, what Dave's saying, all that, can look at that. And then if there's other people that say, I would like to consider combining them with safeguards. My concern is more of command and control, that it's a house divided against itself. And I know you're in a position where you think it's going to be just fine now. I'm not so sure about that. But
Well, I didn't say I thought it would be just fine now.
Or whatever, better.
I think that's what I said at all,
Better,
Steve.
better, I'm sorry, better or whatever, you know, it's gonna, that they can work together. Because I've said in emails for a year and a half, 2 years, they're both valued employees, they must truly partner, collaborate in the functioning of that department. That's the problem, it's not happening. There's challenges to different things that may be medical practice, policy and procedure versus philosophy, and that's just got to get straightened out, and we can do it with one of these two models, and we'll fix that. And I'm just trying to get to the point where we can actually consider a couple different models, that's all.
I still don't understand, but, okay.
Well, what would you like to see?
It just seems, I don't understand. It's really chaotic to me. Each one of us is supposed to meet individually with Tom, but not four of us. And we're supposed to think, well, what if we did for one person and what if we did for two person? But if I don't like the one person, then I just talk about two people. Like, shouldn't we decide the direction and then talk about what the contract language is going to be? It seems very chaotic, disorganized to me. I don't get it.
Well, I'm not sure that I know exactly what that would look like. I think that might have been Paul's concern, is he'd like to have a better idea of what it might look like, you know, put some meat on the bones, you know, of either the medical health officer model versus the medical director health officer model. What do those two models look like with some adjustments, and what would be the best interest of the county and the citizens in that regard? I think I can do this. I mean, not to dismiss your concern, but I think that's a good way to give it a try, to talk and see what we can come up with. And if there's something we can reintroduce later, the commissioner can do so. If we think we have, I wouldn't do so unless I had consensus. I don't want to just throw stuff up and take votes on stuff with, no interest in by other commissioners to at least, look at it. So best I can tell you, but.
Commissioner Rushing.
I think it's very easy and very clear. I think it could be done in a week or two. Address the one scenario where you have the two positions, have contracts, just what we already have concerns there. And then for one position that has them both, to address any concerns that Paul has or any one of us potentially has.
Yeah.
I could get this drafted myself in 2 weeks, and then each one you look at a draft and say, okay, I don't like that, I want to add this, and move forward with it. But I think it's fairly easy to do, and I think we need to do it. Any contract we have with any employee, especially those two positions, I think it's very easy to do. And I've done this before, so I could draft both these contracts myself in 2 weeks and give you a draft for your concerns. Paul could give me his concerns. I could have this by our full board meeting. I could have both contracts.
A few years ago, you helped me split it in half.
What's that?
A few years ago, you helped me split it in half.
No, you.
Yes, we did. Because that was
what happened at all.
one person was way too powerful.
You're changing the history of what happened.
Okay,
I'm kinda sitting here.
So the issue at hand is still making sure that we all have clear direction to our administrator to make sure that we get a viable outcome. You're not there yet.
I'm completely unclear about it. Some of us are going to want curtain one, some want curtain two, some will ignore curtain one, some will ignore curtain two. Then we're supposed to all reconvene and talk about curtain one and curtain two. I don't understand.
Tom is going to apply the wisdom of Job and contract.
I think
Good luck, Tom.
I think what's being promoted is that we wordsmith and iterate the contract and/or board policies for communication until you get four of us that are going to agree on either curtain A or curtain B. I think that's where we're at.
I think we need something to offer up for public discussion and comment, maybe future board action. I think we're not ready to vote on it now, that's all. It's just, there was a motion, it's been withdrawn, we've discussed it, we'll be discussing it again, I'm sure.
Okay. You have your instructions, clear as mud.
Right.
Understood.
Okay. Are there any other human services matters to be brought before the commission tonight? Hearing none, and there's no information.
I had one thing. There were 2 emails came in relative to the combined position. One was opposed to it, and they wanted to make it part of our minutes. Did you guys get that email?
Yes.
I
Kira-
received one.
Well, there's another one came from Carolyn Richards. I don't know, if maybe I was the only one that got it, but she wanted it added as well.
I didn't get that one either.
I'll get that to you. Just, it was the contrary position, and
I got one from Jennifer Mahalik.
yeah, I got that
Yeah.
one, and we want to make sure we just make that part of this.
Right.
Another one came in today, this morning, from Carolyn Richards with the same request.
Okay, yeah, I didn't get that one.
I'll send that to you.
There's no information only. Can I have a motion to receive and file packets?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Push back.
Steve, you want to give him a couple minutes? Get out? You want to give him a couple minutes?
To be continued.
To be
Like the tone?
Yeah.
You could be a They didn't slam it this time. Whack. I did. Hard. Let's call the Judiciary Public Safety Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Angie?
Present.
Commissioner Beeden?
Present.
Commissioner Trello?
Present.
Commissioner Smasko? Commissioner Zeller?
Present.
Commissioner Rushing?
Still here.
Commissioner Vandenbosch?
Here.
Make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I have no citizens to be heard. And next is updates. Sheriff King was?
Oh. He left. Dirty dog.
If we have no conceptual initiatives, no old business.
I think he's coming.
I know,
Oh, okay.
but I'd like to push him a little bit. Come on, pick it up. You were the one lining up here.
The last meeting, you can't expect me to think it was going to move this fast. Hello, everybody. I'm Sheriff King, if you don't know me, and I'm here to just give an update on the Drug Task Force fire. I want to thank the board for allowing me to get up here and speak, and I want to make it informative but brief, and of course, I'll answer any questions from the board. But this is going to be a brief synopsis of the fire at the Drug Task Force building that happened on Wednesday, February 25th. To be clear, the Drug Task Force building houses Drug Task Force, some other special operations units, and it is not on the same campus of the sheriff's office. Obviously, the board knows that, but the citizens might not. It's on a different piece of property, so the sheriff's office and the jail had no impact whatsoever, just to be clear on that. So on February 24th, in the early morning hours, Drug Task Force had a catastrophic fire. A fire alarm went off and notified Central Dispatch at 3:21 a.m. on that morning. A burglary alarm then went off on 3:23 and went to dispatch. We canvassed the area and collected some video on buildings around the complex and collected one video that showed a large amount of fire coming out the roof area at 3:24. So, you know, that camera could have had timing off a little bit, but we think the alarm for the burglary went off when there was a break in the actual wall and the overhead door that would have caused the alarm to go off. I state that because we have had it inspected and dug, and fire inspectors gone out there, and it's been deemed a mechanical fire, and it was not incendiary, meaning nobody started this fire. It wasn't arson. Nobody started the fire with accelerants. It was one of two mechanical issues inside the building. They're pretty sure they know which one it is, but at this point, we're not releasing it because I don't want to intervene with the investigators themselves. But that is important to know. What else is important to know is in the Drug Task Force fire, nobody was hurt, including all the firemen, emergency responders. Nobody was hurt during the incident. And later, I'll talk about all the response that took place. Again, the causation is suspected to be mechanical, one of two incidents or mechanical devices inside, and again, not incendiary. What was lost? Well, first of all, there was evidence in the building, right? Drug Task Force evidence, most of which has redundancy built in with photographs and electronic capture of that evidence. But when we moved into that building, we built a big vault, and it was made out of metal and concrete, cinder blocks. We did that for two reasons: breaking in and fire. And the vault worked as it should. We saved our evidence, and we were able to collect our evidence and then move it. Some of it had to be dried from some water, but the bottom line is we didn't lose evidence, and that was a big concern, obviously. First of all, you know, well-being of everybody there, and the environment around, and then the evidence. So we're proud of the fact that we thought ahead on that, and we didn't lose any evidence. We did lose a lot of equipment and a lot of vehicles that were inside. Our special response team, much of our equipment was destroyed. However, luckily, a lot of our special response team members bring their personal equipment home, so we're still able to operate at this point. Our Drug Task Force equipment was destroyed as well. We are working with the insurance. We're pleasantly surprised. So we are insured. Some people ask that. We're pleasantly surprised by how quickly that they responded and contacted us and how willing they are to participate in replacing our items, our equipment, and eventually our structure. So that's important for everybody to know. So on the day of the incident, I got the call at about 3:40 in the morning that the drug task force was on fire. As you can imagine, I was shocked. And first thing I asked was, everybody okay? And at that point, everybody was. And again, everybody at the end of the day was okay. I did go to the scene that morning. I met Prosecutor Wendling. And at 8:30 a.m., I met with Prosecutor Wendling in my office to go over securing evidence, his wishes for chain of evidence, and how to come up with a plan for custody of evidence. And we are working with his two of his assistant prosecutors. At 9:10 a.m., I contacted special response teams in surrounding areas, the Port Huron Police Department and Macomb County Sheriff's Office. Oftentimes when we have big operations, we automatically call Port Huron PD, and they automatically call us, because these things take a lot of time, a lot of equipment, a lot of people. Both departments advise that they, what we always do, we got you, we'll cover you, we'll work with you, we'll assist you, and we know that we were covered within hours of having our equipment destroyed. We're still covered as a county and the citizenry with those capabilities. I then contacted all the vendors to advise them that, hey, we've got equipment down, this is what happened, put us at the top of the list. So we've got top priority with our armored vehicle. We already have one waiting for us and another one in the wings, and our equipment is already being ordered. Much of it has already been measured. So we're on the ball with getting back up and running as far as a special response team. I contacted county admin and Chairperson Samasko to advise them what was going on. And at 11 a.m., I had a meeting with the drug task force members. And frankly, they were down. This is a place they worked out of for some time. And we had a meeting and talked about what we're going to do and a plan forward. And at 2 p.m., I met with the drug task force and special response team. I devised a plan for operations to include security detail at the building, assigned assignments to different supervisors for both of those positions, drug task force and special response team, to get an audit of equipment and a list of needs to get us up and running right off the bat. And then, of course, a more comprehensive audit for our insurance. And then, of course, an after-action investigation to see if there's anything we could have done different. It's important to know that services will not be interrupted. As of that day, we had backup for SRT. Our SRT members are able to get their equipment that they do have, get together and work with other teams. And our drug task force is out there doing what they've been doing right now, what they're always doing. We split up assignments, so there was no interruption in investigations and work done that they're doing. I would like to say that there was a tremendous response from first responders and fire departments. I'm going to list off everybody that showed up, but I'm not just saying this because there's a fire chief in the room, but the fire departments that didn't show up, they didn't just not show up. Somebody had to stay back at the station to cover these other departments that were leaving their areas. So it's important to know, everybody responded in one way or another. But the departments that showed up on scene, Kimball Fire Department, the St. Clair County Road Commission came and assisted, Marysville Fire Department, Port Huron Township Fire Department, St. Clair Fire Department, Clay Fire Department, Memphis, Emmett, Birchville, Grant, Mussey, Fort Gratiot, and Algonac Fire Departments all were on scene. You can imagine an old industrial building that had been repurposed with many vehicles inside and a whole lot of bullets and a whole lot of things that can be scary to deal with, and they did a tremendous job. Semco Energy responded as well as DTE, and then Emergency Operation Center personnel showed up, and they, in fact, borrowed us their command center so our deputies weren't sitting in cars for 12-hour shifts babysitting the building, so they were able to actually move around. And then Tri-Hospital came in. It's also important to note that we contacted Michigan State Police Fire Investigative Team and the ATF Fire and Explosive Unit to come in and do the investigation for full transparency. It's important to make sure that everybody knows that we did not do the investigation and we handed it over to them, and they are calling the shots as to cause of fire, And then, of course, when we can move on and get, most of the vehicles are all out of there and secured somewhere else. But it was their scene, and again, they had come in, and they call it digging the fire on Tuesday, and they have deemed it a mechanical failure of some sort. So that's the gist of it. I wanted to be clear, dispel some rumors, give some information. We are currently waiting for insurance to decide, as well as the board decide which direction we're going to go as far as the building, and then we will move on from there. But in the meantime, we do have a temporary space, and our teams are up and running. Any questions?
Any questions? Thanks, man.
Thank you all
Appreciate it.
very much for your time.
Moving on to new business. Resolution 26-07, revising indigent defense counsel rate of pay, public defender.
Motion to send to full board.
Second.
Any questions on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Fiscal year 2027 Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, MIDC, grant approval, application approval.
Move to send to full board.
Support.
Any questions on this one? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Fiscal year 2025 Emergency Management Performance Grant, grant agreement.
Make a motion to send that to full board.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions on it? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Manning table request for day treatment, night watch, juvenile intervention unit.
Make a motion to send that to full board.
Support.
Any questions on that one? We've got an expert,
I do have, yeah,
but no questions.
no question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Contract amendment for Tetra Tech Port Huron Courthouse.
Make a motion to send that to full board.
Second.
Any questions on this one?
I think it's probably worth exploring just a little bit. Tom, can you let us briefly inform us?
Sure. As expected, I mean, the courthouse, it was built in 1954. At that time, asbestos was a well-known and used building material. We are getting ahead of this hazardous material assessment and our condition, facility condition assessment. They have notified me that there is some friable asbestos within the building. So again, prior to this report being submitted, sent to the board, we want to get ahead of this, being able to work to abate, any concerns regarding safety for the public or the employees. But again, asbestos, as long as it's not disturbed, is not a risk. We just do not even want to take the risk that it becomes disturbed. So I'm just trying to get ahead of this for the safety of the public and the employees.
And just so that we're all clear, what does friable mean?
Sure. Friable means that the asbestos is crumbling. It's not in good condition. As long as asbestos is within good conditions, it does not have to be abated. The moment that it begins to break down and begin to crumble is when it can potentially, be a risk to the individual.
And in the courthouse building right now, there is both friable and non-friable asbestos, is that right?
Absolutely, yep. And again, asbestos was a common known building material, I mean, when this building was made. So, going into, even like caulking in different things, asbestos is going to be found in that. Everything that they tested, that wasn't a concern was considered non-friable or not in a situation where it poses a risk.
Thank you. And we're waiting on that report. When can we expect the full report?
Yep. So I had reached out today to Mike McGillis, the project manager, regarding kind of that timeline. I'm hoping to get that within 3 weeks. There is some processes, including this addendum, that may delay that timeline. I know there's some things regarding spatial needs assessments, working with the departments, making sure that our expectations are fitting for kind of what we need within a new building. I will tell you preliminary numbers, kind of exploded square footage of the courthouse, which is something that we want to be mindful of, right? We don't want to overbuild, but we also don't want to underbuild when we talk about those things. So my expectation is to meet with each department, look at the space that has been projected, making sure that it's an appropriate space, and then looking at any ways that we can reduce that square footage, which will, an event will reduce the proposed pricing because construction costs are extremely high right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a comment, this is going to be $50,000 for rounding up, and it's going to be over 3 weekends and be completed.
So.
Just the report, it's not the remediation.
Correct. To clarify, this is not the actual abatement. This is for Tetra Tech to do the design plans. This is for Tetra Tech to complete air quality testing clearances to ensure that once it is abated, that the building is safe for the public and the employees to return to. This is the oversight for those 3 weekends, so they're going to be supervising the vendor on site to ensure that they are doing the work that the vendor has been contracted to do. So this is the oversight, design, clearances, all the things. This does not include the vendor to do the abatement. The vendor will also come to the board for consideration.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Contract amendment for public guardian and community mental health.
Motion to send that to full board.
Support.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Any other judiciary public safety matters? Hearing none. Any information, no, there's no information only, receive and file packets.
Make a motion, receive and file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Place sure to clear out pretty quick.
At this time, I'd like to call the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners Environmental Public Works Committee meeting.
We need to have the public hearing first.
Can I, oh, do I? Okay, I was going to do that after. Sorry about that. I'll retract that. I'd like to call a public hearing for the Department of Natural Resources Recreation Passport Grants and Trust Grants, Wadums to Avoca Trail and Fort Gratiot Park accessible play features. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address the board? I have to do this 3 times, right? Is there anybody who would like to address the board in this matter? Is there anybody who would like to address the board in this matter? Seeing none, I'd like to call the Board of Commissioners Environmental Public, what? Oh, I'm sorry.
You just say the public hearing is closed.
Public meeting is closed. I apologize.
Hit your gavel.
Okay. Closed, so you're all done. Nobody gets to talk. Okay, now, I'd like to call the Board of Commissioners Environmental Public Works Committee meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Angie?
Present.
Commissioner Beeden?
Present.
Commissioner Samasco? Commissioner Zeller?
Present.
Commissioner Rushing?
Still here.
Commissioner Vanden Bosch?
Here.
Commissioner Trello?
Here. Is there any additions, deletions, and changes to the agenda?
Make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I have no citizens wishing to be heard. Any updates from commissioners at all? None. We do have the conceptual initiative for the landfill supplemental environmental plan development. I cannot talk today. Any updates on this, Thomas?
Do you want to update it?
No.
Okay. Kidding. Yes, so we held our first set meeting. It was held on Thursday, February 12th. Commissioner Torello, Commissioner Zeller, myself, Matt Williams, and Mr. McNeil, and Mr. Usikowski from Kimball were all present. We had discussions regarding the set process. Packets were provided, including the Eagle approval processes and our consent order, which allows us to develop a SEP in lieu of a $108,000 payment. Mr. Usikowski just he advised that the surveys were completed for Kimball Township. Residents want to make sure that they're aware and hopefully that we prevent any additional scenarios that are occurred leading up to the consent order. So, I think they're open for discussion. I think, from a public involvement standpoint, that was something that, they're just looking at making sure that we're putting safety measures in place to avoid this. Some things that we were discussing, it ranged from a vegetative buffer, increase in ongoing air quality measurements, and something that's allowed within the consent order or the kind of administrative rule for the SEP was an environmental management system, which is kind of something that all-inclusive. It's a digital process. It's a software that allows some of this data and some of this information to kind of live within. So all of those basically as a conceptual, I think we were looking for some price points. We have $108,000, as part of our consent order. So trying to figure out where we hit that mark without, tacking on potential legacy costs, ongoing issues, different things. So those are kind of where we left off with. We are still waiting for quotes back for some of these things, but I did reach out to Eagle's Division Enforcement Case Coordinator to kind of start those discussions very early, just to make sure that we have a point of contact already established so that we can continue to work on this, get something going, because this has to be submitted to Eagle for approval by July. Any thoughts, questions, concerns?
Corporation Council said that would meet our deadline to secure that.
Yep. Anything else?
I don't think so. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. See no old business, new business. Item A is Material Management Planning Committee appointments.
Make a motion to send that to full board.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Materials Management Planning Grant, Budget Revision 2.
I would like to interject at this point if I can, Commissioner Trello.
All right.
Thank you. Pete Complairens, our planning director, had received an email about 1 o'clock this afternoon from Eagle advising that they're encouraging us to not only request grant funding for the remainder of what they're calling round 1, but also the entirety of round 2. So Eagle is not turning over these grant amendments very quickly. So they want to ensure that the grant funding for round 2 is going to get to us at some time in the near future. So what I would ask is that we look to approve the acceptance of the $92,249.50 and an additional $140,191.50, totaling $232,441 from Eagle for the Materials Management Planning Grant. I know that was a lot.
So moved.
Put that, you want a motion with a roll call for next full board?
So moved.
We can just.
So
Commissioner
moved.
Zeller said, so moved.
So moved. Does that make sense? Is there any questions?
Support.
Okay.
I think that's a yes.
Okay. Pete, Jeff, do you have any additional comments? Okay.
Thank you. Any other discussion on that?
I think it's worth noting that Eagle acknowledged they were moving slow.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I said, I think it's worth acknowledging Eagle acknowledged that they are moving slow. So I just.
It's funny.
Or at least they're just not saying no, just like normal.
Right? So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C, the airport lease, T13, private hangar lease for Randall.
Motion
Mr.
send to
Randall.
full board?
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item D, airport hangar roof replacement at the 177 Ash Drive by TriStar Development.
Motion to send that to full board.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item E, contract approval, professional engineering services for North Channel County Park Phase 2, Hubble, Roth, and Clark Incorporated.
Make a motion, send to full board.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item F, contract approval, professional engineering services for Columbus County Park, OHM.
Make motion to send full board.
Can I get a second?
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, Resolution 26-08, grant applications for Wadums to Avoca Trail.
Motion to move to full board?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, Resolution 2609, grant applications for Fort Gratiot County Park.
Move to send full board.
Support?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, any discussion, I guess. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, the Smith Creek Landfill Activities Report for October volume.
Make a motion to receive and file.
Support?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other environmental work matters? None.
Make motion to receive and file A, B, and C of number 10.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just want to question whether or not we want additional information for our materials management planning grant. I know Pete and Jeff are here from our planning department. Is there any questions, concerns, thoughts? This is going to be kind of a changing landscape, certainly something that will have to come to the board for some future discussions. So just wanted to kind of open that up.
No, no one is interested in diversion from the landfill? Wow. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Receive and file packets.
So moved?
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn, please.
So moved?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Pete and Jeff, I appreciate what you're doing.
Mr. Zeller?
So do I.
Are you ready? All right. Call to order, the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners Community and Economic Development Committee. Can we have roll call?
Commissioner Angie?
Present.
Commissioner Beaton?
Present.
Commissioner Trello?
Present.
Commissioner Samasco? Commissioner Rushing?
Here.
Commissioner Vanden Bosch?
Here.
Commissioner Zeller?
Present. Are there any additions, deletions, changes to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept this nothing agenda as presented.
Support.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moved. All right. I have no citizens to be heard, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Receive and file.
So,
There's nothing to.
yeah, get it. Yeah. I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
So moved. Meeting closed.
I didn't catch it. Voted no to adjourn?
God, you've gotten so much done for us.
Yes.
You be careful what you ask for.
This is true. There's stuff coming.
Calling to order the Ways and Means Committee. Can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Beaton?
Present?
Commissioner Trello?
Present.
Commissioner Samasco? Commissioner Zeller?
Present.
Commissioner Rushing?
Here.
Commissioner Vanden Bosch?
Here.
Commissioner Angie?
Present. Number 2, any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda at all?
Motion to accept the agenda as presented?
Support.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I have no citizens to be heard. I don't have any updates. Does anyone else? Moving on to number 5, no conceptual initiatives either. 6, old business, none of that. Number 7, new business. A, contract approval, Thermalnetics Intervention Center boilers.
Make a motion to send to the full board.
Support?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Treasurer Property Tax Foreclosure Relief Grant Application with Community Foundation.
Make a motion to send that to full board?
Support.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. C, Strategic Planning Software, Invisio.
Motion to send that to full board?
Support.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. D, 2024 State and Local Cybersecurity Grant Program Award.
Make motion to send to full board.
Support.
Discussion?
Why is this underlined?
Yeah, that was my question. Is there a reason it's underlined?
It's just,
It just was.
it just was, yeah. When whoever entered it in, because departments submit their agenda items, it was underlined and I didn't touch it.
Makes it look super important.
It does.
Everything's important.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I don't think there's any other ways and means matters. Moving to information only. Nothing. Number 10, receive and file packets.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion carried.
Support.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned.